Indoor vertical farms are the answer to the food security issues in a country like UAE.
So this is your own product as well?
That's right.
Technology side?
Technology side. So we've basically partnered with the company. This is now showing you this is tomato. This is all the nutrition that was used by the agronomy team.
The challenges during those 2 years?
I would say one of the key challenges we have essentially is around power. The second challenge which we have around essentially is the availability of talent.
So why it's only kale right now?
Because the market requires it. The entire indoor vertical farm facility has been built for customers and we are operating it for them.
How long it took till you started to knocking doors for the first investor?
Now we have actually appointed somebody in the DIFC who is the investment manager, and they are helping us raise the Series A round of funding. We are looking at somewhere between $50 million to $100 million, and it will be kale on demand.
Are we expecting kale to drop in the price? How the future could look like?
So in the design of the new city, you should always be thinking of how will the food come into that city. The grow space and the living space comes together.
Welcome guys to the first episode up. This idea was for so long on my mind, and I'm super happy and excited that finally I forced myself to commit and produce it. I want to create episodic series about entrepreneurship, business innovation, and most important, people's stories behind it. I wanted to inspire you, give a food for thoughts, something to think about it, and also show around what we have here in the region. This is a first episode, hopefully out of many more in the future. So enjoy watching it. Today, I have a unique opportunity to visit agro-technology startup. They are growing veggies under these harsh conditions in UAE, and they disrupting the market. So let's go and see what they're doing and how they're doing. Hi, Herman.
Good to see you, Vance.
Likewise, thank you for having us. I was telling before that you are disrupting agriculture market, and I would love you to show us around.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Hemant Julka. I am the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of VeggiTech, and we are solely here to, as you mentioned, to disrupt the agriculture industry by bringing in technology so we can grow sustainable and environmental friendly farms that grow produce in the harsh climates of UAE 12 months a year.
Like we see.
And I'm really happy and delighted to have you on the farms to show you more about that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's
I'm going to just get rid of the masks so that it's easier for us to talk.
Sounds good. All right.
This is what we call an indoor vertical farm. The indoor vertical farm, as you know, firstly we are indoors. There is no access to sunlight, but you can see the plants are growing quite healthily. The second thing, it's vertical. So you can say that the crops actually are stacked one on top of the other. So that's the vertical aspect of it. So this is why it's called the indoor vertical farm. In the industry parlance, it's also called LED assisted hydroponics. There are four main components to what you have in here. The first one essentially is the grow lights. The grow lights emit a full spectrum of light. So as you know, light has got 7 colors.
Okay.
But there are 2 important colors in the light spectrum, which is red color and the blue color. The red color light and the blue color light is what allows the plants to conduct photosynthesis. So we manufacture these lights in our own facility in Seoul, in Korea. So these are coming, the entire electronics comes from there. The second part essentially is the waterways. This is where the plants are residing in.
So there's water inside.
This water inside. This is called a waterway. This is made of high impact polystyrene. So we are the only manufacturer of this. This comes from our factories in India. So that's the second part. This is US FDA food grade approved. The next part essentially is that you can see this is growing in sponge. So the grow media is not soil. You can actually touch it, you can squeeze it, there will be some water coming out because that's what it is. So this is growing, you can see the roots growing in there. So it's from a sapling stage to what it is today. This is lemon basil. I'll get you to taste it, Ivan, because you have to taste it to believe the...
It smells good, yeah.
It's amazing. There you go. Just try this one and tell me what you think. And I cannot stop eating this myself.
Wow, it's a strong taste.
A very strong taste, and that's what I wanted you to kind of experience here. The reason is it's flavorful, and that's why the chefs love it, because there is no transpiration happening here compared to when you grow it outside, where because of nature there's evaporation of the flavor itself. Here all the flavor actually remains in the crop. So this is again one of the reasons why you get really high quality produce, especially for people who need it. The fourth and very important part is a combination of water and nutrition, which is running in the waterways here. So if I can bring you closer, you can see the white roots, and the white roots are sitting in a combination of water and nutrition.
Yeah, so that's the pipe that it comes.
That's the inlet, and the gray pipe is the outlet. Inlet to the outlet goes back into the tank, it gets refiltered, and this machine here is what does the magic. This is called the dosing management system. This automatically calibrates the EC level, the pH level, and the nutrition required for the water in here.
In every white container, it controls how much
the dosing itself. Okay. Yeah. This farm actually runs on its own.
Yeah.
The farmer can actually put the sapling in and disappear and come back and harvest.
Okay.
We are a unique company because we own the entire technology stack, right from the grow lights to the waterways to the people and the processes, where not only do we grow the technology, but we build farms and we operate farms.
Okay.
You do not have a parallel in the industry which does own the technology, build a farm and operate the farm.
Okay, so kind of
360 degrees.
Right.
And the reason why we do that is because we want to ensure that our customers get the return on investment. So we have the entire technology solution, we bring it to the customer, and then we run it for the customer. And the customer gets a minimum produce from the farm, which is what we kind of guarantee, and that produce they take to market. So that's where they get the revenue coming in, and that kind of gives them the ROI on their investment. Indoor vertical farms are the answer to the food security issues in a country like UAE. So UAE has three key issues: temperature, soil, and water. For 4 months of the year, the country experiences more than 40 degrees Celsius temperatures, which makes traditional conventional farming very, very difficult to achieve. So we actually brought in this sustainable farming, where now we are farming 12 months a year.
All right.
So we are able to manage the temperature. We don't have to worry about soil because we are doing soilless farming.
Yeah.
And we are using very little resources in terms of water. So I'll give you the economics here. So this is 1 square meter of grow area.
Okay.
The 1 square meter of grow area gives me around 6 to 9 kilograms every 24 days. I've got 48 points of growth. Each point of growth is giving me a 200-gram lettuce. I can have 15 harvest cycles in a year. So 15 harvest cycles multiplied by 6 kgs per harvest cycle, that's 90 kilograms per square meter on the grow area. When I am growing it vertically, like this is a 7-layered indoor vertical farm, so I multiply that by 90, I'm getting 560 kilograms per square meter per annum.
Okay.
When I compare this to the traditional farming, in the soil, I will get maybe 10 to 12 kilograms per square meter per annum.
10 to 12. And here?
560.
Wow. That's a crazy exponential number.
Exactly. So people talk about 10x being a moonshot. We are actually achieving 50 times it.
Yeah.
And this is with a 7-layer one. When you go to the production facility, it's 10 layered.
Okay.
So we get 900 kilograms per square meter per annum. And I'm using less than 5% of the water, because it's a closed loop system, as I explained to you. So I'm using less than 5% of water. In the traditional farms, for 1 kg of produce, I spend 2,000 gallons of water.
Okay.
Here, I'm spending less than 20 gallons of water.
So why? Like because you...
It's a closed loop system. There's no water, there's no evaporation, there's no water seepage happening.
Okay.
Because typically what happens in the soil, when you water a plant, let's say you give 1 liter of water, 97% of the water goes into the soil, 3% goes to the plant. Here, the plant is enjoying 100% of the water. And it's a closed loop system. There's no evaporation, there's no seepage, so there's no wastage. So with 20 gallons per kilogram compared to 2,000 gallons per kilogram, I am producing 50 times the productivity in here. So this is where we think lies the future of food, one of the potential strong solutions for food security in UAE or the region where you have similar challenges of temperature, soil and water.
Wow, that's crazy numbers. I'm already lost in the numbers, but it sounds a lot.
Yeah. We are the only farm right now which is producing kale. If you are a kale lover, you will absolutely love this event. So try this.
Who doesn't love kale, yeah.
So try this. I mean, this kale is to die for it. Absolutely. And we are the only farm right now. You can feel the difference. If you've eaten kale, you will actually love what this kale is all about. Even the mint, the flavors of the mint are something else. And you can see the kale growing beautifully on the top.
So everything goes here to UAE market or?
Correct. So one of the principles of VeggiTech essentially is we grow locally for local consumption. We are very, very mindful of the carbon emissions and the carbon miles which our foods attracts here. Today in UAE, you have between 10 to 15% of the food grown in UAE, 85 to 90% is imported.
Okay.
In the green leafy section, 100% is imported.
In the green leaf already?
Already 100% is imported. So the upside to creating more of these farms means you will always have a market, because everything you create is an import substitute. So that's where we think there's huge potential. And of course, the other thing is it's pesticide free, farm to your kitchen in less than 6 hours because it's locally produced. And then you can come to the farm and actually see where it's growing. So these are some of the advantages we want to bring to the people of the UAE by growing it.
Look, in the UAE we have a lot of gym fanatic influencers and everybody loves kale, so that's a really good one.
You also have microgreens here. Now I don't know if you know about microgreens, but microgreens are one of the most nutritious form of natural vegetation you can think of here. So you can try this.
Okay, I have a breakfast here already. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is growing again in sponge, you can see. It's got water coming from below in the trays.
And again, it's like the taste is so strong.
Absolutely. All of this gets imported from Europe for now.
Okay, at this point.
At this point. And that's what we're telling now the people of UAE, that now you can actually have this grown locally.
Okay.
We have the technology.
So you changing the market soon?
Absolutely.
Like what would your forecast would be, you know, when we don't need to import anymore?
In the area of leafies, we have a bit of a long way to go. But I think if you look at a basket of products, I think in the next 5 to 7 years, we should be able to kind of start reducing our dependence on imports drastically. Yeah. And this is where we are working very closely with Her Excellency Mariam Al-Mahari, who is our Minister for Food Security and Presidential Affairs. She is a huge supporter, and we actually love her because she is very, very interested in promoting the local farmers and the agriculture industry. And also Dr. Abdullah Al-Nuami, His Excellency, he's looking after he's the Minister of Climate Change and Environment. So he was on our farms last week because he wanted to actually sample a farm that is operational in the peak of summer. So he came here. He came here and he actually saw cucumbers growing on our farm, where every other farm in UAE actually is shut down. Yeah. So we're really, really proud, and we really welcomed him, and we're really privileged to actually host him on our farms. Yeah.
So also like same technology, apart the water is not coming here?
Correct.
With nutritions?
No, so the microgreens don't need nutrition, they just need water. Okay. So the water actually comes in the tray here. This one actually has holes, it has holes underneath. So the sponge takes just enough to grow them. Yeah. But they need the lights to actually grow. So that's how it works.
But this size of setup, it could be easily, I don't know, be done at home, like for the B2C, let's say consumer side.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cupboard.
Absolutely. That's where we're kind of going with this. So, one of the visions which I mentioned to you about VeggiTech is we want to create the next 1 billion farmers.
Okay.
We want everybody to be able to grow their own food. We want to enable everybody to grow their own food. So having a system like this is very, very easy in your house. It's very easy to maintain, very easy to support, and we are just a phone call away because we are locally available to you.
But what about, I don't know, electricity consumption or something like that?
Yeah. So we have actually optimized the use of electricity onto these kind of setups. So it's very, very nominal, to be honest. Your air conditioner takes more electricity than this.
Yeah, okay. So it's like 24/7?
Yes. No, not 24/7. So what you have to do is you have to mimic the nature pattern. So the lights basically are on for 10 hours, and then you have to give the plants rest. It's called the dark respiratory period, the DRP. Right. So you have to allow the plants to sleep. Actually, when the plants are sleeping, that's where they break down the starch from the photosynthesis to convert into food for the plant to grow. So that's what works. So you have to take care of that.
You're giving me lessons today.
It's a pleasure. So we want to actually make a change, but because this is a long-term change, we have to start the roots. The roots are our future leaders, our students, and that's where we are trying to make them aware about the food ecosystem, about the importance of growing your food locally, about eating healthy. Yeah. And you will see, for example, some of the investments that we have done in technology. If I can ask you to get your mobile phone out. Okay. Do you have an iPhone or any phone? Yeah. If you can just scan the QR code, I'll just put the camera on. Yep. Yep, you've got the link. So this is now showing you this is tomato. This is all the nutrition that was used by the agronomy team headed by Bhaskar sir. So you can actually see as a consumer sitting at home with this QR code. Any fertilizers we may have used.
So this is specific for the product that we just scanned.
Exactly. So when you get the product from our farms, it comes with a QR code, and sitting at home you can scan exactly how we made the product. You'll get the calorie count of the crop.
Okay.
And most importantly, for the first time as a customer, you can see the greenhouse from where it came.
Oh, this is like map.
Yeah, that's a map. So this is basically the VeggiTech farm, you can see.
Is it from here?
Yeah, this is our greenhouse.
That's nice.
So for the first time as a consumer, you know your food. And this is what we want to educate our young children about it.
Yeah.
Saying it is so important for you to know where your food came.
Oh, that's crazy.
The agronomy team basically runs a roster, a daily roster of how many people actually are sent to that particular farmhouse to actually maintain, or the greenhouse to kind of maintain the stuff, what activities are they doing, what nutrition actually has been done today. All of that is captured in a system, and then as a customer you get the benefit of that.
So like as I heard, it's part of blockchain future vision, to have all the products linked and know what's happening where, in which point.
Yeah.
So this is your own product as well?
That's correct.
Like technology side?
It's technology side, yeah. So we've basically partnered with the company. It's in Croatia, so it's called agro-technology.
Okay.
So we partner with them, and we actually are now kind of distributing this software into the market here. And one of the things we want to tell the cooperative stores here is to whoever is saying it's a local farm produce, for them to deploy this technology, and we are making that technology very, very cost effective.
And so you're sharing it as well with other.
Yeah. And we are sharing it to the point that it's so ridiculously cheap. It's like 2 cartons of cucumbers is what will bring you this technology on your farm. So now let's go to the nursery where all the action starts, where the seed actually becomes a sapling, and then it kind of gets brought over to the different grow spaces on the farm itself.
All right.
Okay. We currently are growing more than 1 million saplings every month, and we'll show you that as well. So you can see a lot of seeding trays. The seeding trays is where you put the seeds in, and then you look after them till they become saplings. The saplings need to be around at least 3 to 4 inches. They become strong, and then based upon the different plants, they get transplanted into the grow spaces.
Okay, so there's like start and beginning, and then you're moving on.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so now we are going to go into the production facility. The production facility is got 5 modules. 2 of them have gone live, which is 1,000 square meters. The 1,000 square meters grow area already makes it the largest indoor vertical farm in UAE. So that's what we're going to step in. We will step into an air shower. So this is like a 30-second lockdown.
Okay.
If you can just step in with me. If you close the door behind, that's going to give you a 30-second air shower. And this will just take off the dust and the pollen of you. So that's what it does for you. It's a double lock system. This again is from Korea. We kind of got that from Korea because this is important. The indoor vertical farm facility is managed to be preserved as literally like an intensive care unit.
Yeah.
So when everything is complete, when the construction is complete, the idea is that you wear the hat covers, the shoe covers, and the right anti-static material to get into the facility. Come. So this is the module 1 of the indoor vertical farm. We have 5 such modules. Each module has a grow area of 500 square meters. One model. So physically you are on 12 meters by 12 meters by 4.5 meters tall. This gives you the grow area of 500 square meters. 500 square meters grow area gives you the equivalent of 20,000 square meters of traditional farming.
That's crazy.
So you can imagine 144 square meters is giving you the equivalent of 20,000 square meters. At the same time, I'm using less than 5% of water. And this facility is running 24/7, 12 months a year, producing the food that you need.
So why it's only kale right now?
Because the market requires it. So we have built this farm for our customer. So VeggiFresh is our customer. They were the launch customers in UAE.
Not it's like for whatever customer or investor, how we
call it. So the entire indoor vertical farm facility has been built for customers, and we are operating it for them. VeggiFresh has bought this section, or 3 sections of the farm have been bought by them. They have gone to the market and asked what do the customers need, the end customers need. The answer was they need kale. So we are now operating the farm and building and growing kale for them.
So UAE will have a lot of kale.
Correct. And it will be kale on demand.
Are we expecting kale to drop in the price?
That could be a possibility, but I don't think so in the near future, because right now there's nobody else who's growing kale in the summer of UAE. So I think the prices are going to go up.
So such a demand.
But what we are looking for, and this is where we have invested in the technology, is we want people to start using this kale and create kale cakes, kale tortillas. You know, there is so much you can do with kale, and you don't actually have to have it just with your organic salads or salads. Yeah. You can use this product in other things. So this is where we are creating the possibilities for UAE to become not only self-sufficient in food, but also start innovating in food.
So first of all, thank you so much for the lovely tour. That was really amazing. But here I would love to find out your kind of a personal journey, a personal timeline. How did you end up here?
So I'm now 51. I grew up in India, in Bombay. I'm a computer engineer by academics. I was in the batch of the first computer engineers coming out of the University of Mumbai, which was pretty amazing to be part of that. Then I kind of was with TCS, which is one of the largest Indian IT companies you can actually look at. And then I moved to Dubai in 1995, and I was working as a software engineer with Emirates Airlines. I worked with Emirates Airlines for 23 years. I finished working with Emirates Airlines around 2 years ago as one of the senior managers in the technology department. And one of the reasons why I transitioned from being a technology guy into becoming a full-time farmer was my association with my childhood friend, who is also now my partner and the CEO of VeggiTech, Ravi Shrotriya. And then we met 35 years later in life on a common project where he was asked to create a smart farm for the Al Zaya School for Children of Determination, which is sponsored by Sheikha Jamila, Her Excellency, Her Highness actually. And she sponsors these 1,500 children, and as part of the school curriculum, they are taught farming as a therapy for those children. Currently, they were using traditional farms, and the traditional farms, as you know, would not work for 5 months of the year. So the children lost interest in farming. So we created a smart farm which would run 12 months a year for them. And Ravi asked me to kind of help him in that project from a technology perspective. When I saw the impact of bringing technology to kids, and for me, that was like the aha moment, which told me that this is exactly what I wanted to kind of do, for the rest of my life.
Go that direction.
Where you bring in technology to create a positive social impact.
And a little bit about your UAE story. So you mentioned that you came to UAE. How old you were? Is it with the family or how?
Yeah, so I came in as a single man. I was all of 26 years old when I came into UAE. Now it's 25 years. Now I'm 51. When I came to UAE, people were like, Dubai? Where is Dubai? Why are you going to Dubai?
By that time, yeah.
In 95, nobody knew Dubai. I joined Donata. People were like, what's Donata? What's Emirates? So it was a small airline in the Middle East, 9 aircrafts. But I came in here because I like the technology aspect of it. So while we were creating software for Emirates, people said, oh, this is really good software. Can you put this software in my airline? We ended up with having more than 100 airlines as our customers of IT software from Dubai.
This is like similar concept that you showed the browser, like when you're scanning, and like all the nutritions.
Absolutely.
But you as well, you created guys, but you now applying to, you can apply to other companies.
Absolutely. So there are loads of learnings that I have kind of personally taken from the Emirates world into agriculture. For example, if you see the dashboards that we have created. So I learned a lot from running the largest international airport in Dubai. Where you actually have around 200 plus aircrafts landing and taking off. So you had, with just Emirates, we had more than 500 flights taking off and landing, per day. So we used to run the airport like clockwork. So I've kind of brought that entire operational KPI metric system into agriculture, where each greenhouse knows how many plants we have in there. I know exactly how much water I need to give to this greenhouse. I know exactly when the fruiting of the plants will start. And I know with my agronomist, what yield am I going to get per plant. So I am actually holding the team accountable for X amount of kilograms of yield coming out from a 12-week period for cucumber, for example. And that's how we are running the farm. So the farm is also operationalized with KPIs, which is again something which I carry from my Emirates world into farming here. I'm really happy about that part. So we have actually got around 5 verticals in the business itself. One, of course, is to build the farms. The second part is to operate the farm. So that's the build and operate part. which is to do with the here and now.
So you can separate as a services.
As a services,
Build,
exactly.
Operate, you don't need to operate if
Yes,
you don't need, yeah.
exactly. So you got the build part, you got the operate part, then you got the whole angle of innovation and research and development, where we're always constantly innovating. What's the next version of the lights that we create? What's the best grow media that we can do? How can we actually focus on better nutrition for the plants? So there's the whole innovation and R&D space around that itself. Then we have the whole learning center, which is what we call the Center of Excellence for Alternative Agriculture Practices. So which is a complete vertical where we focus on universities, we focus on students, we focus on these growing courses. We have an online learning platform on which you can go and you can do 2 hours of online learning, and then you come to the farm and you actually get trained 8 hours on the farm, hands-on practice. So we have got that space itself. And then the fifth space is around data. So we are really focused around data, because only when you have the ability to take your data, convert that into information, and then you can kind of drive the knowledge base for the organization, can you be in a continuous learning cycle. So these are the 5 pillars we have kind of focused on ourselves right now to kind of grow the company.
So sort of get back to the data. So like give me a case or something, like what kind of data you're collecting in farming?
Yeah. So we have data scientists on the farm. So what we are doing is, so we've got a simple use case is around how much inputs do I need to give to a plant to get X amount of output.
Okay.
So that correlation of how much water, how much of nutrition, what temperature, do I need to actually maintain so I to get the best yield from the crop. That's all through data. So that's one example there. The second example is around the marketing side. In the 12 months of the year in UAE, what are the different prices I can expect for the crop that comes out? So this is the market dynamics that we're kind of looking at coming in there. Like literally, you won't believe, just for the growing part, we right now are at 43 variables, which actually will impact the growing of a plant. And we are trying to measure them. So we again got interns who are working with us, who are focusing on this stuff. So we want to focus on, can my machine algorithm, the algorithm which is coming from the data scientists, can they, given these set of variables, can they actually forecast what will be the yield of the crop from this particular greenhouse? So this is where we are going at, and we are continuously checking that. So we forecast, we see the actuals, we make the algorithm learn again, and then we actually try it for the next cycle. So this is where the data is playing a big role for us.
Because your colleague Ali was showing a table that you guys can forecast all year around, like literally know how much, how many kilos or tons you can produce.
So right now, I know I'm sitting on an annual harvest plan where I know I will create 1.9 million kilograms of vegetables from my farms here, and I know it by month. So I know the crops which I have, and I know exactly by month how much crop is going to come through. So now I'm taking this data to the market and asking people, would you be interested in doing business with us? I'm a farmer. With this data, I will be giving you X amount of kilograms of tomatoes in the month of November, and this is the price I'm expecting. Would you like to do business with me?
So it's like communicate, it helps you to communicate with investors.
Correct, absolutely.
All right. Well, that's of course sounds good. Everything is now growing, flourishing, everybody see, believe. Well, the beginning you said, what, 2 years ago it started with the project.
Correct.
So could you tell me, like, what was the start? How did you start? Like, it was 2 of you, but self-funded, or what was the journey?
Yeah, so it was 2 years ago, completely self-funded. We were very fortunate that we had with us a person who trusted in the technology, and that person came to us after 3 years of research.
Okay.
That person wanted to actually make a switch into farming. So it was an amazing combination which actually worked for us, and we got together and we said, yep, let's do it. We were very confident about our technology, etc. But we needed that one customer to come and say, okay, I believe in you, and I'm going to actually fund your first build and operate project. So that's when we took this farm. When we came to this farm, so we took this farm on the 5th of January 2019. When we took this farm, we had a little bit of a view of what the farm was about, but we didn't realize how bad it was in the shape it was in. So we nearly spent $1 million of our own money to resurrect the farm, to kind of bring it to the level which you see today, which is operational, for us to do that. So we did all of that stuff. It was very hard. There were days, there were nights, where I would, be in bed thinking about, great idea, Hemant.
Yeah.
Do you know where you're heading to? And of course, sometimes the answer would be, I have no idea where I'm heading. But that's fine. This is the whole journey. This is the whole journey of entrepreneurship. This is the whole journey of, what I call labor pains here. Without labor pains, you cannot create the baby here.
Yeah.
So you actually had breakdowns. From the breakdowns came breakthroughs, but it's all part of the journey in there. Would you say it's been smooth sailing? Of course not. It's been tough. To make matters worse, you've had the COVID pandemic coming in. The COVID pandemic really has disrupted everybody in a very unprecedented way. People are really not sure, how to travel through this terrain because nobody has ever done it before. But every day is a learning day. So as long as you're a student, you're able to persevere and are able to show respect and empathy, to all your colleagues and your stakeholders, we are very, very sure that, we'll come out on top.
So you started together with your colleague, self-funded, and then how long it took till you started to knocking doors for the first investor? Or
so the model which we have essentially is because we build and operate farms. That's a very robust business model because that model itself gives you some element of profits which help you kind of keep the company rolling in. We said that we will create a proof of concept which is big enough for people to come and sample and touch and feel, so they feel confident about investment in.
Yeah.
So now we have, after the first year of profitability, so in the first year we made profits, by the way. With your own money and everything, we actually made profits. We actually poured the profits back to create some of the assets for the company. So there's literally on this farm, you got $1 million worth of assets that we have created. The training lab which you're sitting in is one of the prime assets that we created in here. So all the investment itself is quite amazing, but that's again for a reason. Yeah? So we have done that. We've got customers now. We've actually moved from 8 acres of a farm to 60 acres of a farm that we are operating in UAE. So that's kind of giving us revenues. But now we have actually appointed somebody in the DIFC who is the investment manager, and they are helping us raise the Series A round of funding. So we are now in the market. We are kind of trying to raise the first Series A round of funding. We are looking at somewhere between $50 million to $100 million at this stage. And everything that we have seen and we have heard from the market, we are very, very positive to kind of close the round successfully.
So do you had already some talks with somebody?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we are right now in discussions with around 6 people, 6 investors, who are quite willing to kind of, bring in tranches of between $5 to $15 million to invest in the company's growth. The next 3-year cycle where we are focusing on the GCC expansion, we would like to go into Saudi Arabia, which is a big market. We want to kind of go into Oman. We want to go into Kuwait because one of our customers is a Kuwaiti customer who's got a 500 square meter indoor vertical farm here on our farm. So they chose to invest here because they want to then kind of create a bigger investment in Kuwait. So we are looking at Kuwait as well. And then we are looking at Bahrain as well. So we are looking at the GCC countries to grow into. And then the next port of call is going to be Europe, where we are looking at Finland. We already set up an office in Finland that brings our entry into Northern Europe, where for 7 months of the year there is no sunlight. So this technology can be easily applied there.
Oh, you mentioned that those you're preparing.
Correct. Exactly. So that's Europe, and then we are looking at UK. Is a very strong contender because of the Brexit. UK is looking to be self-sufficient in food, so we think our technology will really help because there again you don't have very conducive weather. It's cold, it's raining, and you have very little sunlight for the rest of the year, except for the summer. So that's where the technology will come in, and we should be able to kind of help them create that part. So this is where we are going. We've got investors who understand this vision, who understand the fact that we've actually self-funded the company, have turned out profitable. So we're looking at maybe in the next 3 weeks to kind of close this round of funding. Things going well, touch wood, fingers crossed here for that part.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think only recent year, that's when it became a trendy. Like you can hear this like agro-technology, agriculture technology. It's like it's growing now.
Yep.
We know a few successful cases in UAE as well here. So
Right.
it helps you a lot. Like
absolutely. So in a very perverse way, the COVID pandemic has brought a lot of focus on food security.
Okay.
Because the freight lines or the trade lines across countries, disappeared literally overnight. People realized they could not actually bring in food from their traditional sources, which was not their own country. And that is the reason why you see a lot of focus now coming in on food security and people starting to say, can we grow our crops locally? I pick up a tomato, I have no idea where the tomato came from. But we as human beings seem to be so okay with the fact that we don't know where that food came from. And this is one of the reasons why now, people are now getting a little bit more aware about saying, oh, I've said I need a barcode, I need food transparency. This is, for me, is like human right. You have to know where your food came from. So there is again, a lot of focus coming in on the food side. You're absolutely right. There is a lot of enhanced focus on agro-tech, growing your own food, local food, how can you support your local farmer, and yes, all of that is helping, but that is also the premise on which we built VeggiTech. VeggiTech was built for addressing all of those concerns.
Because you mentioned mobile app as well.
Yep.
You can check where the food came, what the nutrition's. Because this is like, it sounds like could be as another vertical of the business. Like, I don't know, you said you build the app, you build technology, and then you can provide.
So when we build and operate farms for our customers, they actually get digital smart farms. We just don't build grow areas for them, which is what traditionally people would do. But what we are creating essentially is a digital smart farm, where the farm speaks to the farmer, proactively giving him information about the data on the farm, what is the yields, what are the crop values, how is it actually built, etc., etc. So this is where we're kind of going with, and at the end, the consumer has to benefit from this farm. And for us, we always keep the end consumer in mind when we are creating technology.
I think that's impressive that in the farming, now you can calculate everything, track, forecast, and that's, I think, good for investors because, well, they see everything black and white.
In the investment world, you have people who've got green funds, who have sustainability funds.
Yeah.
But when you look for the projects they have actually got under them, there are very few projects that actually have KPIs around it. And that's one of the attractions to VeggiTech, because we have KPI'd everything.
The challenges during those 2 years?
Challenges are plenty. I think I'll talk about the challenges to the industry itself. So the agriculture industry in the UAE, for example, one of the core challenges we face is around electricity, power. So you have potentially sufficient power for the traditional farms, but when you talk about a technology-driven farm, there is demand on electricity. So we are working with the authorities to try and actually see how we can bring in more electricity to the farms. We are also looking at ways and methods of solar energy, where we can actually tap the solar energy of the country to create the electricity which we can then power the farms. So I would say one of the key challenges we have essentially is around power. The second challenge which we have around essentially is the availability of talent. You'll be surprised, we have one university in UAE which offers you a course in agriculture. So this is the discussion I'm having right now with Her Excellency Mariam Al-Mehri, saying how can we create more universities or more people offering courses around agriculture, so I can get local talent available with the new technologies coming through.
Maybe it's because, well, it's not popular, to be honest.
Of course,
before,
absolutely.
Before I even see that, agriculture, you're going to be farmer?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So, so that's the second part which you're looking at. So availability of talent is there, but we have taken it upon ourselves to actually create the talent here. So that's why heavily invested in universities, school students, everybody else. We want to bring people into farming in there. The third challenge is more around startups in the region, and it's not necessarily maybe in the region, maybe around the globe, where sometimes the finance industry does not align itself to supporting startups here. So for example, getting capital, getting current working capital loans is very, very hard. So it's very hard if a startup does not have access to funds. So like in our case, we're kind of lucky that we actually, did have some monies with ourselves to kind of, self-fund ourselves. The last challenge we have, and I kind of spoke to some of the insurance guys around that, is in this country, you don't have crop insurance. So in traditional agriculture-based industries, a farmer always has crop insurance here. Whereas here you don't have. So let's say, for example, for whatever reasons, you have some element of your crop going down, you really are not insured as a farmer against that here. So there's no protection. So we are trying to work with the insurance industry and trying to see if we can bring some of those instruments on the back of data, where we can say, if we give you this data, can you provide us some insurance for our crops here?
But you guys have more control.
Absolutely, we have more control. Yeah. We have more control. But again, sometimes nature is nature, right? Especially on our organic certified farms, where we are growing crops organically, an unseasonal shower, which happens, can wipe off my okra, for example. That's what happened to us last year. So we had some unseasonal showers, and we weren't expecting the rains to come, but the rains came.
Yeah.
And then it kind of wiped out my okra. And I'm like, okay, so that's kind of gone, but that's the risk. That's the risk a farmer faces.
What kind of skills you're missing? What's going to be demand in the future, let's say in a couple of years in agriculture?
So I think definitely the competencies of a farmer will undergo a change in the future. The farmer of the future will be a lot more aware about the science behind the growing of crops. Not only he'll be focusing on the plant physiology, but he'll also be looking at the environment, because you're now talking about controlled environment agriculture. So they will actually start going a little bit horizontal and starting to say, how do I address the environment in which the crops grow? So that's going to be one change which you'll see in there. The farmer of the future will also be focusing on data, So they will start building data models and starting to understand what will be the inputs to give you whatever outputs in, and what is the monitoring that they need to do in the middle. So they will start, kind of building some of these models in place, and maybe all of that will be available to them on some dashboards on mobile phones or virtual screens on their farms there. So when they come in, they will get all the information about that part. So you will see the future, the farmer of the future, focusing on some of those elements. The other thing which you will see the farmer being connected to very seamlessly in the future will be to the marketplace. Today that's a huge gap. So the farmer, just like how you're in the stock trading, you can imagine, right? How is a stockbroker today? The stockbroker is connected. So similarly, you will see the farmer being connected to the marketplace as well. So he's connected to his farm, so he can actually understand what's happening on the farm, and he will start looking at connection to the market. So the whole supply chain will actually get connected for him. So that's the other thing which we'll be looking at.
So those skills you kind of definitely need in the
farmer
future.
of the future, absolutely.
This industry future, how do you see? We spoke before. It's even about that every household, let's say B2C market, will have a little storage space where they can grow. So maybe how the future could look like.
The crops growing in the village, and the consumer in the city eating it without really knowing where it came from. Yeah, that was the past. Yeah, and there was a social status difference. Yeah, the poor people, the uneducated guys in the farms, in the villages who are doing their work, and all the educated and the rich people living in the cities and enjoying the spoils of the labor from the farmers. Yeah, I would say it's in the past. In the present, I think there's a healthy respect of knowing where your food came from, and you've got lots of supply chain people in the middle. So wherever it's kind of growing, so you are sitting in Dubai, you can get the oranges from Brazil, or you can actually get the grapes from California. So there is some way where the food actually lands into your supermarket by magic. So that's the present. Where we want the future to be essentially is that the urban planners or the city planners of today, when they are planning the next city, not only do they worry about the roads, the schools, the water, the electricity, the hospitals, but they should also worry about the food part. So in the design of the new city, you should always be thinking of how will the food come into that city. So this is where we are seeing the future of food here, where the growing spaces, which is basically where you grow your food, and the living spaces completely combine with each other. So the grow space and the living space comes together.
This doesn't disappear.
And this doesn't, and this is where you will actually get 0 carbon miles on the food that you consume. And this is the conversation we are having with the Sharjah Research Technology Innovation Park, with Dubai Technology and Entrepreneur Center, with Dubai Silicon Oasis. We are actually talking to Her Excellency, who is the Minister of Food Security, Mariam Al-Mehri, where we are talking about how do we bring this together? How do we actually make it happen? As a company, we definitely are focused on creating retail units for this indoor vertical farm technology. You can imagine having a building which has a gym. The same space which you give to a gym, you can actually give it to an indoor vertical farm, and your entire building can consume the green leafies behind. And they can also participate in social activities where they can, as a community, be growing food for themselves. So it's absolutely doable. In Dubai, or in UAE, we are quite blessed with beautiful villa communities, which are beautiful landscape gardens here. You can just dedicate one of those green patches to a greenhouse, and you can grow your own cucumbers and tomatoes and brinjals, eggplants, or okra, there. It's very, very easy. You can do that all year round itself. So this is where we are kind of seeing the future of food ecosystems going forward, where the grow spaces and the living spaces will kind of come together, so that the community is involved in the growing of their food, and they are able to actually eat healthy food, and hopefully then become healthier as a community. And then if the community is healthy, then the nation becomes stronger. So this is the long-term vision is in terms of where we kind of go with that.
Your future appealing, really nice.
Thank you.
Looking forward for it, yeah, hopefully.
No, absolutely. And that's what we're hoping. We're hoping to land the future in here, and we're really, really focused. We are determined, and we're actually putting everything that we have, to kind of create that future.
All right. Well, maybe on that note, I wish you, to make it happen and grow as a company and then as a business as well. And thank you for having us today and explaining everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time and trying to learn more about the company and the vision and the future of what we bring to the table there. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Well, that was our first episode up. Hope you liked it. It was super challenging for me to step in front of a camera. I was a little bit nervous, but now I know what to improve and how to make it better. In the beginning, I mentioned that Hemant is running his farms under harsh UAE weather conditions, and our camera operators had to face it. every time we step outside, our camera's overheating, shutting off, we have to stop, repeat again. But it's all about challenges and how we overcome it. Guys, please leave your comments. Let us know what else you would like to see. That's it for today. I'll see you in next episode.